Welcome, Maddie and Max.
Recently, there has been some talk about the FLSA increased salary threshold regulations that took effect on July 1st of this year. The annual salary threshold for all exempt employees increased to $43,888 annually. And for highly compensated employees, it increased to $132,964 annually. These regulations are under challenge right now in a Texas lawsuit, and recently that judge just issued a preliminary injunction that the regulations do not take effect for Texas employers only. These regulations have a second set of increases that take place on January 1st of 2025, which will increase them further to $58,656 annually for regular employees and $151,164 for highly compensated employees annually. Max, do you want to talk a little bit about how the Texas litigation impacts employers outside of Texas?
I don't think the Texas litigation does affect employers outside of Texas. It's limited to the state of Texas and to the parties that are in front of that court. I do think that all of this should cause us to think through our relationships with our employees in terms of whether we construe them as exempt or not. There's some simple math to do in terms of whether it makes sense to continue the exemption if the minimum salary is above where you think is appropriate and is above where you'd have to pay overtime. But it's also an opportunity to carefully rethink whether these folks are in fact appropriately construed as exempt from the requirements of the Fair Labor Standards Act. And that requires a pretty careful examination of what people actually do in the course of their employment.
And they also have to meet the salary threshold that I just discussed to be properly construed as exempt, right? So you have the duties test and the salary basis test for exempt status.
You got to make a certain amount of money and you got to have certain responsibilities with respect to your job. That's right.